The use of guns is crucial to Edward the Man-Eating Train. They're an essential component of the gameplay because they can be used to ward off Edward, acquire more tickets, and serve other purposes. The game's guns, however, are not as precise as those in other games. In this video, I'll be compiling every single gun in the game, putting all of their details, quirks, and attributes into a single video, and telling you the best ones out of the bunch, so you know which one to buy. So yeah, let's jump into it. But first off, you need to know how to use these guns properly. Every single gun has a recoil and spread pattern. Anyone familiar with shooter games immediately knows what those two terms are, but if you're not, I'll explain. Recoil is basically your crosshair jolting upwards whenever you shoot. Spread shows the amount of variance that the gun has while shooting. Some guns definitely have more recoil and spread than others. A normal handgun is going to have more spread than an assault rifle. This is bad because it actually makes your guns less accurate and harder to control. To combat this, you will need to tap, shoot, or burst to maintain the maximum damage that you can inflict, as well as right-clicking to shoot, which will allow you to get higher accuracy. Speaking of maximum damage, every gun has a damage drop-off. The further away you shoot, the less damage you will do. Snipers typically have less damage drop-off, and handguns have the most damage drop-off. This encourages you to get closer to Edward in order to hit maximum damage against him, but it's more risky. As well, rapid draw times. Every weapon takes a weapon to draw up before they become usable, so have your gun out before getting into combat. The qualities we are looking for in a gun is a gun with high damage, low S recoil and spread, high magazine capacity, and of course, personal preference. Whether you are more of a sniper player that likes to pick Edward from far range, or you are a player that prefers to get up close and personal. Handguns are the lightest and usually cheapest guns in the game. The first gun you ever get is a handgun in the first place. Handguns don't usually do a lot of damage and have loads of damage drop off, doing very little damage against Edward from far range. The basic shop features the cheapest guns in the game and quite a lot of handguns. The Cobra Magnum is the cheapest gun in the game, starting at $20. This is a gun that I generally would not recommend buying because it's actually a gun worse than the starting pistol. Even though it does more damage per shot, it is much slower and only has 6 bullets, making it the worst gun in the game. A bit of a step up from that is the starter pistol. For me, the starter pistol is pretty capable at doing some damage for a beginner. 25 at point blank range is pretty decent, and the gun is extremely lightweight, making it a good sidearm even for intermediate players. The last gun for the basic shop that is a pistol is the SP9 Mini, which resembles a Tech 9. This gun has a much bigger magazine capacity, making it much more damaging to Edward. As well as it being an automatic, the only problem is that it's quite slow at 500 rounds per minute, and the reduced speed does not help it either. Next up, the Baxter or Abbott Specials. These guns come from these farmers that are at war with each other, and they sell these handguns that have just about equal damage with one another. For me, this is probably one of the best purchases you can do as a complete beginner to take advantage of the 2 weapon slots, and with it costing a measly $40, it's a steal at that price. Next, we're going to go through the 3 strongest handguns in the game. The F1-7C, which can be found in Death Ridge City, is basically the starter pistol, but with a slightly bigger magazine. As well, it's quite cheap at $160. The Gunslinger Magnum found at the Nowhere Hotel is an improved version of the Cobra Magnum found at the basic shop. It sports much higher damage per shot and has 1 extra bullet. The most expensive pistol in the game can be found in the Nowhere Hotel. It costs $720 and it's extremely expensive for a handgun. The things that make this weapon shine is the high fire rate and the magazine capacity. It seems like a good deal on paper, but it really isn't, because if you have 720 tickets saved, you should probably save up more for like an AK, which does way more damage. If this was priced more reasonably at, let's say, 500 tickets, then I can see its usage. Shotguns are for the daredevils that play this game. They're high damage guns that require you to get up close and personal to hit Edward to get its maximum usage. The cheapest shotguns appear at the basic shop, which is a sawed-off. This weapon is great for beginners if you want to start doing damage immediately, but its range, even for a shotgun, is terrible. The Bookman is slightly better. At 120 tickets, it has 5 rounds and decent damage. However, unlike the sawed-off, you can't just unload 2 shots and leave. For the Bookman, it has a very slow fire rate, and with it being unhand loaded, you're going to have a lot of trouble if you need to reload. Going over to Death Ridge City, we get the PUAS-12, which is one of my favorite guns if handled forces. However, it's absolutely trash in this game. It offers the same qualities as Bookman, but it's just faster. But at $720, this is a heavily overpriced weapon. And as well, the slim 5 rounds is just not enough. Moving over to Greystone, it offers 2 shotguns. The Bookman 500 Sport is an improved version of the original seen in the basic shop, with it having a faster fire rate and 1 more round. For me, this feels much more worth it compared to the predecessor because the increased fire rate is just great. The MUAS-12 found in the Nowhere Hotel is insane. It's a beefed up version of the PUAS-12, offering more rounds. The slim 5 rounds that the PUAS-12 has is one of its biggest problems, but at 7 rounds it nullifies that problem to a certain extent. You can do serious damage with this thing, and with the increased fire rate, it's not a drag to use the complete ammo capacity of these shotguns. The only problems I have with it is a tad bit overpriced. Dropping it to somewhere between 1,000 to 1,100 would be a good idea. Automatic guns like assault rifles and submachine guns. These weapons are the most versatile guns, being good for a lot of situations. In my opinion, opinion, they are my favorite class of weapons in this game. However, they're much more expensive than any other class of weapon in the game. The only automatic found at the basic shop is the Rack 10 at 320 tickets. This gun is surprisingly capable. It's fast, lightweight, and offers decent damage at such a low price. I recommend picking this up as a beginner, along with the Baxter and Abbott specials. At Gravestone, we got the Rack 10 Commando, an improved version of the Rack 10. It slightly does more damage and has a higher fire rate. In my opinion, it's a solid choice for intermediate players. The MA16 can be found at Dead Ridge City and is just shy of 10,000 tickets. It's a burst rifle, meaning that it's not truly automatic, but the damage output of the gun is quite good. The price is not that good though, and I recommend dropping it to about 800 because it's just not worth 960, man. The MA16 Marksman can be found in Dead Ridge City as well as the Western Watch Post. It offers the same attributes, but with a scope and damage drop off with this gun is practically non-existent. This offers a sort of sniper automatic fusion, and it's really good pickup in my opinion, despite its hefty price. Then come the AK-47s, sorry, the AU-47, found at the Nowhere Hotel and costs about the same as its M4 counterpart. But for me though, I value a bigger magazine than fire rate, so I prefer the AU-47 and think it's much better. The AU-47 Marksman is the same as MA16 Marksman counterpart, but it offers a much longer magazine and is fully automatic. However, this is the most expensive gun in the game, costing $1,440, but in my opinion, it's such a good gun for what it does, outputting serious damage at Edward without even needing to go near him. Snipers are for the backseat players. They prefer chilling and going from long range, and are not too fond of close-up dogfights compared to the shotgun users. Because of this, snipers have high damage, little damage drop-off, and best used at far range. The cheapest sniper rifle can be found in the basic shop, which is the Hollingsworth 1894, a great gun at $120 that outputs some serious damage at its price range, but it is severely nerfed due to the lack of the scope. At Gravestone, we have two sniper rifles to look at. The 1894 Tactical is the improved version to its basic shop counterpart, featuring more ammo capacity and slightly faster fire rate. However, the fact that it's more than twice as expensive makes it a terrible purchase. The majority of the snipers can be found in the Western Watch Post, which exclusively sells them. The custom Hollingsworth 1894 is the same gun from the basic shop, but with a scope attached. This makes the rifle much more easier to use. The Earnshaw 700 is a sniper rifle that can be found at the Western Watch Post and Gravestone, and it's basically your standard sniper rifle. It outputs much higher damage compared to the Hollingsworth 1894 and has a better scope in general. At $640, it's very reasonably priced, and any sniper players should pick this up as a budget option. The most expensive is the Earnshaw 700 Marksman, which features a better scope and a slightly better fire rate, but its price is double. For me, I think this weapon is kind of overpriced, and I think it should have its damage increased at the very least to make the price reasonable. And for the final part, what guns do I recommend? This part is purely my own biases, and I think you should do some of your own research to form your own conclusions. From handguns, I find the Abbott and Baxter Enemy specials to be a great first purchase for true beginners. The SP9 Mini's humongous ammo capacity also makes it a really good purchase as well, and was personally my first purchase in the game. Moving over to shotguns, I'm not really a fan of them, but if I was forced to pick one, the sawed-off would be a great secondary. This is because it outputs good damage and has a high fire rate. You can just shoot a sawed-off and immediately run, while still outputting good damage. As for automatics, the SMGs are a great choice for intermediate players. They offer good damage, are quite light as well, and are offered at fairly cheap prices. As for advanced players, the AU-47 counterparts outmatch the MA-16 counterparts due to their fully automatic nature as well as a bigger ammo capacity. As for snipers, I really like the Earnshaw 700. This is because it's really cheap for what it's worth, outputting significant damage at a measly $600+. So yeah, that's my recommendations. If you want to watch more content like this, go watch my review about Edward, which details my personal thoughts about the game and how it matches up to other games in Roblox. And yeah, that's about it for me. See you guys soon.